The instructor released a Deathworld beast. The human called it Kitty and HFY. Rocks jutted out of the ground like broken teeth, and rivers of red liquid moved slowly through the valleys. It was called a Deathworld for a reason. Many species in the galaxy avoided it, believing it was a place where no life could survive for long. Yet humans, or at least some humans, had come here to learn. Jake Miller stepped off the transport shuttle and took a deep breath. The air was thick and smelled metallic, almost like iron mixed with burning wood. He felt his stomach tighten, but he did not show fear. Not here. Not now. This was the Interstellar Academy's survival training ground, and this was his first real test. Other cadets from different planets were already gathered near the training arena. They were tall and strange-looking, with skin in colors Jake had never seen before, purple, gray, even translucent in some places. Their eyes were large and dark, some with more than one pupil. They were all whispering nervously to each other, casting quick glances toward the arena's entrance. Jake adjusted the strap of his bag and moved closer. He was one of the few humans in the academy. Humans were not known for being particularly large or strong, at least compared to some alien species. Yet they had something that no other species did: adaptability, courage, and a strange sense of empathy that often confused their instructors. Jake had learned long ago that this could sometimes be the most powerful weapon of all. "Cadets!" A voice boomed across the arena. Jake turned his head and saw Instructor Varnak. The alien was massive, with scales that shimmered in the dim light and eyes that glowed like molten metal. Its long claws scratched the ground, leaving deep grooves in the stone. "Today, you will face a challenge unlike any you have known. This is Torgeth 9. This world does not forgive weakness. You will face a Deathworld beast." A shiver ran through the group. The alien students exchanged worried looks. The stories they had heard about these beasts were horrifying. Some said the creatures could tear a person apart in a single swipe. Others said their venom was so strong it could melt metal, and no one had ever tamed one. Jake swallowed hard. He felt his pulse quicken, but he did not step back. He had learned long ago that showing fear in front of others gave them power over you. He took a deep breath, reminding himself that he had survived much worse on Earth and then on countless missions in space. He was not afraid. Not yet. Varnak's claws raked the ground again, louder this time. "Step forward, cadets. Witness the beast." The arena gates opened with a loud hiss, and a heavy shadow moved in. The cadets froze. Jake felt a strange excitement coil in his chest. The creature that came into view was enormous. Its body was covered in thick, dark fur with patches of rough scales. Its eyes were a piercing yellow, and they glowed in the low light. It had horns curling from its head and claws that looked like jagged knives. Its jaws were lined with sharp teeth, dripping with saliva that sizzled as it hit the stone floor. The cadets gasped. Most of them took a step back, their instincts screaming at them to run. But Jake did not move. He studied the beast carefully. He could see its muscles rippling under its thick hide. It was strong, dangerous, and alive in a way that made the hairs on his arms stand on end. Varnak's voice cut through the tension. "This creature is your test. Do not run. Do not panic. Survive. Show me what your species is capable of." The beast growled, a deep, rumbling sound that shook the ground. Its gaze locked on the cadets, but when it reached Jake, something curious happened. The creature tilted its head slightly, as if it could sense something different about him. Jake felt a strange, calm wash over him. Slowly, he stepped forward. The other cadets looked at him in disbelief. "Are you crazy?" one of the aliens whispered, their voice trembling. Jake ignored them. He kept his eyes on the beast and took another step, then another. He spoke softly, almost to himself. "Hey there, kitty." The words sounded ridiculous even to Jake, but something about them felt right. The beast paused, its growl fading slightly. Its yellow eyes studied him, its massive claws scraping the stone as it shifted its weight. The alien cadets whispered in shock. None of them had dared to speak to the creature, let alone give it a name. Names, they believed, were for creatures that could be reasoned with. Deathworld beasts were not reasonable, they were killers. But the beast did not attack. It sniffed the air around Jake and took a cautious step closer. Jake held his hands out, slow and steady, letting the creature see that he meant no harm. The smell of its fur was overwhelming, a mix of wet earth and something pungent that made his nose wrinkle. Yet he did not flinch. "Kitty," he repeated, this time a little louder, a smile forming on his face despite the danger. "It's okay, I'm not going to hurt you." The beast blinked, a strange sound escaping its throat, half a hiss, half a growl. Then, to everyone's shock, it sat down. Its tail thumped the ground with a force that made dust rise, but it did not lunge. It simply sat, looking at Jake as if it were waiting for something. Varnak's massive frame shook with a low, guttural laugh. "Interesting, very interesting. The human has done what no other cadet could. Most would freeze, most would scream. You have not even flinched." Jake felt his heart pounding, but his smile did not falter. "Hi, Kitty, don't worry, we'll be friends," he said softly, reaching out a hand to touch its nose. The beast sniffed him, its hot breath brushing against Jake's skin, and then it nudged his hand gently. The other cadets stared in disbelief. Their eyes were wide and some even stepped back, unsure if they had seen what they thought. It obeys him," one whispered. Varnak shook his head slowly. "It does not obey, it trusts. It sees something in him that it does not see in the others. Humans, you are strange creatures. You have courage, yes. But more than that, you have a calmness, a fearlessness that comes not from strength but from understanding. It is unique." Jake knelt down, keeping his hands visible. "You're not so scary, are you, Kitty?" he asked. The beast's ears twitched, and it let out a low rumble that sounded almost like a purr. Jake laughed quietly. "I think we're going to get along just fine." The alien cadets murmured among themselves. Many of them had spent their entire lives being taught to fear these creatures. They had been trained to fight, to kill, or to flee. Yet here was a human, smaller than most of them, standing calmly in front of a beast that could tear him apart, and the beast did not attack. Instead, it sat obediently, its massive head resting slightly to the side as if listening to him. Varnak moved closer, his claws dragging across the floor. "This will be your survival exercise. You must guide the beast through the arena without it attacking you. You must show skill, strategy, and control. Most cadets fail. Humans, perhaps you will succeed. Perhaps." Jake nodded, keeping his gaze on Kitty. He had no idea how he would guide the creature, but he trusted it and himself. Humans had a strange way of surviving that often surprised other species. They did not rely only on strength or weaponry. They used their brains, their intuition, and sometimes their kindness. As the exercise began, Jake led Kitty through a series of obstacles. The other cadets watched in disbelief as he navigated traps that would have killed any other student. The beast followed his movements with surprising precision, ducking under swinging blades, leaping over pits, and avoiding hidden spikes. Every step felt like a dance between danger and trust. By the time they reached the end of the arena, Jake was breathing heavily, his clothes dirty and torn. Kitty sat beside him, panting, but alive and unharmed. The alien instructors were silent for a moment, then Varnak stepped forward, his voice low and impressed. "Remarkable. The human, you have survived. You have formed a bond with a creature that should have killed you. You are extraordinary." Jake smiled, patting Kitty's massive head. "We make a good team," he said simply. It was basic, almost childish words, but it felt right. The other cadets approached cautiously. Some touched the beast's fur, some looked at Jake with new respect. They had witnessed something they had not expected. Humans were not just survivors. They could connect with the deadliest creatures in the galaxy and make them allies. And Jake knew this was only the beginning. Because on a death world, courage was survival. But on a death world, humans could also change everything. After the training exercise, the academy grounds were quiet, but the air buzzed with whispers. The alien cadets could not stop talking about what they had just seen. Jake Miller walked beside Kitty, the massive beast, through the winding paths of the academy. The creature's paws thudded softly against the stone, but even those sounds seemed louder in the eerie silence that followed the exercise. "Did you see that?" one cadet whispered to another. "No other species could do that, none." "Humans, they are strange," another replied. "So small, yet so fearless. The beast, it listened to him." Jake overheard some of the murmurs but ignored them. He was used to being stared at. Humans often drew attention, for better or worse. What mattered to him was Kitty. The beast was calm now, its large yellow eyes following Jake wherever he went. It occasionally sniffed the ground or nudged a rock with its snout, curious but controlled. As they walked, Jake noticed the other cadets giving him a wide berth. Some looked at him with admiration, others, he guessed, with fear. That was fine. He had learned early in life that humans could make enemies or friends just by showing courage. He had to keep his focus. Survival was never about looking cool. It was about paying attention, reacting fast, and trusting instincts. In the distance, the academy's main building rose like a dark fortress. Its towers reached high into the clouds, and its walls were reinforced with alien metals that glowed faintly in the dim light. Jake could see instructors moving about on the balconies, watching all the cadets carefully. He knew some of them were still skeptical of his methods. That did not matter. He trusted what he had done. Kitty moved closer to Jake, brushing against his legs. He laughed softly. "You're heavier than you look," he said. The beast rumbled in response, a sound that almost felt like approval. Some cadets who were passing by stopped to stare. One of them, a tall, thin alien with pale blue skin, whispered, "It treats him like he is its leader." "How can that be?" Jake shrugged. "I don't know," he said honestly, "but it listens. That's all that matters right now." The academy day continued, but Jake found himself in a new position among the cadets. Some avoided him, unsure if they should get close to the human who tamed a Deathworld beast. Others were curious, sneaking glances at him and Kitty as if hoping to learn the secret. Jake did not mind. He had no illusions about being popular. He only wanted to survive and to help the creature he had named Kitty. Instructor Varnak approached him in the afternoon, the shadows of his massive frame stretching across the stone floor. "Human," Varnak said, his deep voice echoing, "you have done well. But this is only the beginning. There are challenges ahead that even you might struggle with. Do not mistake today as proof of safety." Jake nodded respectfully. "I understand, instructor. I'll be ready." Varnak tilted his head, his glowing eyes studying Jake closely. "Perhaps. Perhaps, but remember this. Survival is not about the beast alone. Survival is about the mind. Do not underestimate what Torgeth 9 can do to those who are careless." Jake watched as Varnak left, and then he looked down at Kitty. The creature was calm, but Jake knew better. Even now, on a leash of trust and understanding, it could turn into a killing machine if threatened. That was the reality of life on a death world. Later that evening, Jake found a quiet spot near one of the academy's high cliffs. He sat down, and Kitty lay beside him, resting its massive head on Jake's lap. The wind was cold and smelled of sulfur and wet rock, and Jake could see the clouds moving fast across the sky. He felt the beast's steady breathing, each exhale rumbling like distant thunder. "You know, Kitty," he said softly, "we're going to have to work together if we want to get through this place. I don't know how the others will handle it, but I think we can do it." Kitty responded with a low, purr-like rumble. Jake laughed quietly. The sound seemed to calm both of them. Humans, he thought, had a strange ability to connect with creatures in ways other species could not. Maybe that was what made them special. The next morning, the Academy announced the second phase of the survival exercises. This time, it would not be just one beast, but a series of trials. each designed to test courage, intelligence, and teamwork. Jake knew it would be harder. He also knew that Kitty would be both his greatest advantage and a target of curiosity from the other cadets. As the group assembled, alien cadets whispered behind their hands, eyes flicking toward Jake and Kitty. Some were skeptical, some amazed. The instructors had warned everyone about Torgheth 9, but seeing a human survive and bond with a Deathworld beast changed their perspective. Even the toughest cadets now watched him with cautious respect. "Cadets," Varnek announced, "today you will face multiple challenges. The arena has been expanded. Obstacles, traps, and creatures of increasing danger await you. Only those who can think, act, and survive together will succeed. The rest will fail." The gates opened again. This time multiple creatures emerged, smaller Deathworld predators, fast and vicious, their eyes glowing red. They hissed and growled, circling the cadets. Panic rose quickly, but Jake remained calm. He knelt slightly beside Kitty, who crouched low to the ground, muscles tense and ready. "Stay calm," Jake whispered to Kitty. "We know what to do." The other cadets were frozen, unsure how to proceed. Some attempted to draw weapons, but the beasts moved too fast, darting between rocks and traps with deadly precision. Jake's mind worked quickly. He directed Kitty with simple gestures, pointing and signaling with his hands. The creature understood, moving to intercept attacks, blocking paths, and keeping the other cadets safe without harming them. Slowly, the group began to move under Jake's guidance. Kitty led, protecting, showing the way. The alien cadets followed, trusting his direction even as their own instincts screamed at them to run. Jake's strategy was simple: avoid direct confrontation, use the terrain, and keep the creatures contained. The execution was flawless. By midday, the trials had become more intense. Some creatures attacked simultaneously, testing the cadets' ability to react under pressure. Others were hidden, waiting to ambush. But Jake and Kitty navigated each challenge, their connection evident to everyone watching. At one point, a small predator lunged at a cadet from behind. Jake reacted instantly. He grabbed a nearby rock and threw it, distracting the predator just long enough for Kitty to block it, claws digging into the ground. The cadet froze in shock, eyes wide as Jake calmly said, "It's okay, we're safe." Even Varnek had to step back, impressed by the human skill. "Remarkable," the instructor muttered to another, "not just courage, intelligence. Humans may be small, but they are extraordinary." By the end of the day, most cadets were exhausted, some injured. But Jake and Kitty had not only survived, they had thrived. The instructors gathered everyone for a final assessment. "You have observed today," Varnek said, voice booming across the arena, "that survival is not just about strength. It is about connection, trust, and quick thinking. This human, Jake Miller, has demonstrated what his species is capable of. Humans are not only survivors. They are clever, courageous, and adaptable. Remember this lesson. It will save your lives." The alien cadets looked at Jake differently now. Some nodded, some whispered, and some simply stared, unable to believe what they had witnessed. Jake felt a small thrill. Humans were underestimated in many places across the galaxy, but here, in the heart of a death world, he had shown their worth. As the day ended, Jake walked with Kitty to the edge of the cliffs again. The sun, a pale green light behind the clouds, reflected off the distant mountains. Jake could feel the cold wind biting at his skin, but it did not matter. He looked down at Kitty, feeling a mix of pride and respect. "You did well today," he said quietly. "We'll need to keep this up. The Academy will test us even more, but I know we can do it together." Kitty rumbled in agreement, nudging his hand with its massive snout. For Jake, it was more than just a response. It was a promise. They were a team now. And in a place like Torgheth 9, trust was the most powerful weapon of all. As night fell, the Academy lights glowed faintly, casting long shadows across the arena. Jake and Kitty sat side by side, watching the stars through the swirling clouds. The other cadets had returned to their quarters, leaving them in peace. Jake knew that this was only the beginning. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, deadlier than anything today. But for the first time, he felt confident. He had survived a day that would have destroyed most cadets. He had formed a bond with a Deathworld beast, and he had shown everyone that humans were not just fragile creatures, they were something far stronger. Because on Torgeth 9, courage alone was not enough. But humans could turn even fear into an advantage. And Jake Miller and Kitty were about to prove that to everyone in the galaxy. The next morning, Torgeth 9 was colder than the day before. Mist hung low over the jagged rocks, and the red river seemed to move faster, bubbling as if boiling from below. The alien cadets gathered at the training grounds, murmuring among themselves. Some still whispered about Jake Miller and Kitty. Some were afraid of him. Some were curious. All of them were watching, knowing that the human had changed something in their minds. Jake adjusted his bag and patted Kitty's massive head. The beast stood tall, muscles rippling under its dark fur and scales. Its yellow eyes glowed in the mist, and every movement was careful and precise. Jake smiled, feeling a strange confidence. "Today is going to be harder," he said softly, "but we can do it, together." The instructors stepped forward. Varnak's voice boomed across the grounds. "Cadets, today you face the second phase of the survival trials. The arena has been expanded. More creatures, more traps, and more challenges. Only those who can think, act, and survive together will pass. Humans may be small, but some of you might learn from them." The cadets exchanged nervous glances. Jake noticed some of the aliens trying to hide their fear. He did not judge them. Fear was normal on a death world. What mattered was how you controlled it. The gates opened. Out poured not one but 3 Deathworld beasts, smaller than Kitty but fast, dangerous, and hungry. They hissed and growled, their claws scraping the rocks. The mist made them look like shadows moving on their own. Many cadets froze. Some wanted to run. Jake knelt slightly, letting Kitty sniff the air. "Stay close," he whispered. "We need to watch them, not fight them." Kitty rumbled softly, its tail brushing against the ground. It understood. Humans and creatures could survive together if there was trust. The first beast lunged at a young alien cadet who froze in fear. Jake acted fast. He picked up a rock and threw it, not at the creature, but to distract it. Kitty reacted instantly, positioning itself between the cadet and the beast. The smaller creature paused, confused, and Jake motioned for Kitty to move. "Follow me," he shouted. "Move with me, don't panic." Slowly, the cadets began to move, following Jake's lead. The beasts darted and hissed, testing them, but Jake and Kitty guided the group through the obstacles. Rocks that could fall, pits, and hidden spikes were everywhere. Many cadets stumbled, but Kitty blocked or pushed them out of danger. Jake's simple commands, gestures, and calm demeanor were all they needed to survive. During a sudden ambush, 2 smaller predators jumped from behind rocks. Jake noticed a cadet, pale and trembling, frozen in fear. Without thinking, he threw himself in front of the creature, grabbing a stick from the ground and swinging it at one of the predators. Kitty moved instantly, knocking the second beast away with its massive paw. The cadet blinked, shaking, as Jake held out a hand. "Move." "Stay with us," he said. By midday, the cadets were exhausted. Some were bleeding and their uniforms were torn. The creatures were relentless, but Jake and Kitty were still calm. Jake had learned to read the environment, the creatures' movements, and the cadets' reactions. His mind worked faster than most of the aliens could imagine. At one point, a predator blocked their path. Its eyes glowed red in the mist, and it hissed, revealing sharp teeth. The other cadets froze. Jake knelt slightly, extending his hand toward Kitty. The beast understood. It moved forward, not attacking, but creating a barrier between the predator and the group. Jake whispered, "It's okay, we can handle this." The predator lunged. Kitty responded instantly, blocking it with a swipe of its massive paw. The creature skidded back, growling, and Jake quickly led the cadets past it. One of the alien cadets, a tall, gray-skinned female, looked at him with wide eyes. How are you so calm?" she asked. Jake smiled, brushing dirt from his uniform. "You stay calm, you watch. You move when you need to. Fear doesn't help here, trust helps." By late afternoon, the group reached a steep cliff. A narrow path led down, with jagged rocks and a deep drop to one side. The beasts had almost cornered them. Many cadets looked down the cliff in terror. The drop was hundreds of feet. One wrong move and they would die. Jake took a deep breath and looked at Kitty. The beast sniffed the air, its tail twitching. "We can do this," he said softly. Then he stepped forward carefully. Kitty followed closely. One step at a time. Everyone together. The cadets followed. Some stumbled, some screamed quietly, but Kitty nudged them forward gently but firmly. Jake encouraged each cadet, guiding them with words and gestures. Slowly, they all made it down the cliff safely. When they reached the bottom, Varnek stepped forward, his massive frame looming over them. "Remarkable," he said. "No other species has survived these trials with such skill. The human Jake Miller has shown courage, intelligence, and leadership beyond expectation." The cadets have learned something today. Humans are not only brave, they are wise. The other instructors nodded. Many of the alien cadets looked at Jake differently. Some bowed slightly in respect. Some simply stared, trying to process what they had witnessed. Jake felt a quiet pride, but he did not let it go to his head. There were more challenges ahead, and survival was never guaranteed. As the sun set behind the mountains, the sky turned dark green, with clouds swirling like smoke. Jake sat with Kitty near a small river of red liquid. The beast dipped its massive paw into the river, shaking it, sending sparks of light into the air. Jake laughed quietly. "You really are something, Kitty," he said. The creature rumbled in response. Some of the alien cadets approached slowly, still wary but curious. One of them, a short, thin male with translucent skin, stepped forward. "Human, how did you do it?" he asked. Jake smiled. "I didn't fight, I didn't scream, I watched. I moved carefully, and I trusted Kitty." The alien blinked. "Trust with a Deathworld beast," Jake nodded. "Yes, fear makes creatures stronger and it makes people weaker. Trust makes both stronger." By nightfall, the cadets had returned to their quarters, leaving Jake and Kitty alone. The wind blew cold and sharp, but Jake felt safe. Kitty lay beside him, its massive body warming him slightly. The stars were faintly visible through the green clouds. Jake knew that Torgheth 9 was testing them, pushing them to the limits, but he felt ready for what was coming next. "Tomorrow," he said softly, "will be harder, but we can do it, together." Kitty rumbled, nudging him gently. Jake smiled. He had survived the day, kept others alive, and proved that humans could not just endure, they could lead. He looked up at the sky and thought about Earth, about his friends and family. Humans were small in the galaxy, often underestimated. But here on Torgheth 9, humans could do things no one expected. Humans could survive anything. Humans could inspire others. And Jake knew this was only the beginning, because on Torgheth 9, survival was more than just strength. It was courage, intelligence, and heart. Humans had all three, and Jake Miller, with Kitty by his side, would show the galaxy exactly why. The morning sun barely broke through the thick green clouds on Torgheth 9. The air was damp and smelled of wet stone and metal. Jake Miller stood at the edge of the training grounds, Kitty beside him, muscles coiled and ready. Today's exercise was supposed to be the hardest yet, but something in the air made Jake uneasy. It was not just the cold wind or the eerie mist. It was a feeling, deep and sharp, that danger was coming. Other cadets gathered nearby, talking nervously. Some glanced at Jake and Kitty, whispering among themselves. He had grown used to their attention. Humans often attracted it, for better or worse. But this time, even the instructors seemed tense. Varnek stepped forward, massive and silent. "Today," he said, voice low and serious, "you will face a full-scale challenge. Multiple predators have been released across the arena." Survival will not depend on skill alone. It will depend on courage, strategy, and leadership. Jake nodded. He had learned quickly that surviving Torgheth 9 required more than strength. It required calm thinking, quick decisions, and trust. And Kitty was more than just a companion. The beast was a partner, a protector, and an ally unlike any other. The gates opened with a hiss. This time, the creatures came in waves. Smaller Deathworld predators darted from the mist like shadows. They hissed and snapped at anything that moved. Some were fast, almost invisible in the fog. Others were larger, with claws like knives and jaws that could crush bone in a single bite. Many cadets froze. Some panicked and ran. Jake did not. He knelt beside Kitty, hand resting on the massive beast's fur. "Stay close," he whispered. "Watch me. We can do this." Kitty rumbled in agreement, muscles tensing. The first wave of predators attacked. Jake moved quickly, using rocks and debris to distract them. Kitty reacted instantly, blocking the creatures with its massive paws. The alien cadets tried to follow, but many stumbled or froze in fear. Jake guided them with calm instructions. "Move to the left. Watch the claws. Step carefully. Together." One cadet screamed as a predator lunged. Jake grabbed a rock and threw it, not to hit the beast but to divert it. Kitty moved faster, intercepting the predator and forcing it back into the mist. Jake motioned for the cadets to follow, leading them toward a narrow canyon that offered some safety. As they reached the canyon, the ground shook violently. From the shadows, a massive Deathworld alpha emerged. Its scales were black with red streaks, its eyes glowing like fire. The air trembled as it roared, shaking rocks from the cliffs above. The cadets froze. This was no training creature. They had encountered something that was born to kill. Jake did not panic. He studied the beast carefully. Its movements were fast but predictable. Its attention was drawn to Kitty, recognizing the smaller creature as a threat. Jake took a deep breath. "Kitty, block it, lead it away. Stay calm." Kitty let out a low growl and stepped forward. Its massive body moved with surprising speed, circling the alpha to distract it. The two beasts clashed, claws scraping stone, teeth snapping. Sparks flew as their strength collided. The cadets watched in awe. Jake did not flinch. He guided the group down the canyon, keeping them out of danger using simple gestures and quick commands. One cadet tripped on a loose rock, and another predator lunged. Jake reacted instantly. He grabbed the cadet and pushed them to safety while Kitty intercepted the predator mid-leap. The beast's paw hit the ground with a force that sent dust and rocks flying. The cadet stared at Jake, wide-eyed, shaking. "Stay with me," Jake shouted. "We are almost there." The group continued through the canyon, each step a careful calculation. Jake's eyes scanned constantly, noting the predator's movements and the cadets' positions. Kitty stayed beside him, ready to block, push, or attack if necessary. The human's calm confidence began to rub off on the alien cadets. Slowly, they started moving with purpose, trusting Jake's instructions. The terrain became more dangerous as they moved deeper. Sharp rocks jutted from the ground and narrow ledges threatened to break under their weight. Predators lurked behind every corner, waiting to ambush, but Jake stayed focused. "Watch your step. Don't rush. Kitty will guide us," he said quietly. The cadets followed, slowly but steadily. Suddenly, a predator lunged from above, falling from a cliff ledge. One cadet screamed. Jake acted instantly, grabbing a large branch and swinging it to deflect the attack. Kitty leaped, claws digging into the cliff, blocking the predator. The cadet stumbled but remained unharmed. "Keep moving," Jake yelled. "Don't stop." As they reached a narrow bridge over a deep chasm, more predators appeared. The bridge could not hold many at once, and falling meant certain death. Jake assessed quickly. "We go one by one. Kitty, you go first. Watch the others." The beast moved carefully, steadying the bridge with its weight. Jake followed, guiding each cadet across safely. When the last cadet reached the other side, the alpha predator appeared again, blocking their escape. Its eyes glowed and its roar shook the canyon walls. Jake had no weapons, no backup, only Kitty and his wits. He studied the predator. It was aggressive but not smart. Predictable in its attacks. "Kitty, flank it," Jake whispered. The beast responded instantly, moving to the predator's side. Jake ran forward, clapping his hands and shouting, drawing the predator's attention. Kitty attacked from the other side, claws and teeth flashing. The predator stumbled, confused, giving Jake the chance to guide the cadets past it. Once all the cadets were safely behind, Jake and Kitty faced the predator together. The alpha lunged. Kitty countered, blocking and pushing. Jake shouted simple instructions, moving rocks and creating obstacles. The predator roared in frustration but could not reach them. Finally, the alpha, exhausted and frustrated, retreated into the mist. The canyon was quiet again. Dust and debris covered the ground and the cadets were breathing heavily, faces pale with fear and relief. Varnak appeared from above, massive and silent. His glowing eyes studied Jake. "Extraordinary," he said slowly. "No other species has survived a challenge like this. Humans, you are more than survivors. You are leaders. You are brave beyond measure. You inspire." The cadets stared at Jake with new respect. Some whispered in awe, some nodded quietly. Even the most skeptical among them could not deny what they had seen. Jake knelt beside Kitty, patting its massive head. "We did it," he said softly. "Good job, Kitty," the beast rumbled in response, eyes glowing faintly in the mist. The alien cadets approached cautiously, some still fearful, some curious. One stepped forward, voice trembling. "Human, how did you stay calm?" Jake smiled. "You watch, you move carefully, you don't panic, and you trust those around you. Fear makes you weak, trust makes you strong." The cadets looked at him silently, understanding something they had never known before. Humans were small, yes, but their courage, intelligence, and heart could overcome almost anything. As night fell, Jake and Kitty sat on a ledge overlooking the canyon. The sky was dark, green clouds swirling above. The sounds of distant predators echoed through the valleys, but Jake felt safe. They had survived the deadliest day yet. "You're amazing, Kitty," Jake said quietly. "We've proven something today, not just to them but to everyone who underestimates humans. We can survive anything, we can lead, we can protect." Kitty rumbled, nudging him gently. Jake smiled, feeling a strange warmth. Humans were small in the galaxy, often overlooked. But in moments like this, they could show their true strength. Courage, intelligence, and heart. These were things no predator, no alien, and no obstacle could take away. Jake looked out over the canyon, thinking about the next challenges. He knew Torgheth 9 would test them again. He knew the Academy would push harder. But he also knew this. Humans had a way of surviving, a way of thriving, and a way of inspiring others. And Jake Miller, with Kitty at his side, would keep showing the galaxy why humans were not to be underestimated. Because on Torgheth 9, survival was only the beginning. Humans could turn fear into strength, danger into opportunity, and death into legend. And together, Jake and Kitty had already started that legend. The dawn came slowly over Torgheth 9, pale green light filtering through thick, swirling clouds. The Academy grounds were quiet, but an uneasy tension hung in the air. Yesterday's trials had tested everyone to their limits. Some cadets were exhausted, their uniforms torn and covered in dirt and scratches. The alien instructors whispered to each other, clearly impressed but wary. Today promised to be even harder. Jake Miller stood with Kitty beside him, muscles coiled, eyes scanning the horizon. The death world had a way of revealing itself slowly, and he had learned to read it. Every shadow could hide a predator. Every sound could signal danger. He had faced it before and survived, but today he felt a mix of excitement and caution. Other cadets gathered, still talking in whispers. Many were staring at Jake and Kitty, some with awe, others with fear. He had become a symbol, an example that humans were more than what others expected. Humans were brave, clever, and unpredictable, and that unpredictability had saved lives. Instructor Varnak stepped forward, massive and imposing. "Cadets," he said, voice low but echoing, "today is the final phase. Survival is no longer enough. You must demonstrate leadership, strategy, and courage. Only those who can act quickly, think clearly, and inspire others will succeed. Humans, you may find lessons in this." The gates opened. From the mist came dozens of Deathworld predators, small and large, fast and lethal. They hissed, growled, and lunged. The other cadets froze. Some backed away, trembling. Some tried to fight, but the creatures were too fast. Jake knelt beside Kitty. The massive beast's yellow eyes glowed in the mist. Its muscles rippled as it readied itself. Jake felt the same calm confidence he always felt with Kitty by his side. "We've done this before," he whispered. "We can do it again. Trust me." "Trust each other," Kitty rumbled softly, nudging him. The predators attacked in waves. Jake moved quickly, guiding cadets with simple commands. "Left, watch the claws." "Stay together," Kitty reacted instantly, intercepting the creatures, blocking attacks, and pushing cadets out of danger. One cadet screamed as a small predator leapt from behind a rock. Jake lunged forward, grabbing the cadet and pushing them to safety. Kitty swiped at the predator, knocking it back with massive claws. Dust and debris flew through the air. Jake never hesitated, moving calmly while others panicked. The battle continued. The creatures were relentless. They came from every direction, testing the cadets' skill and courage. Jake's mind worked quickly. He read the predators' movements, the cadets' positions, and the environment. Every decision was simple but precise. Move here, step there, trust Kitty, trust yourself. By midday, the cadets were exhausted. Many were injured, some bleeding, some limping. But Jake and Kitty remained calm, steady, and focused. Jake encouraged each cadet, guiding them past danger. "One step at a time. We're almost through. Don't panic, trust us." At one point, a predator blocked their path near a deep chasm. The bridge was narrow, and falling meant certain death. Jake assessed quickly. "We go one by one. Kitty first. Watch each step. Stay close." The massive beast moved carefully, creating a barrier between the predators and the cadets. Jake followed, helping each cadet across safely. Suddenly, from the mist, a massive alpha predator emerged. Its eyes glowed red and its roar shook the cliffs. It was bigger than anything they had faced before. The cadets froze. Panic rippled through the group. This was no longer training. This was survival against a true Deathworld hunter. Jake did not flinch. He studied the creature. Its attacks were fast but predictable. He whispered to Kitty, "We can handle it. Stay calm, trust me." Kitty growled softly, muscles tensing. The predator lunged. Kitty intercepted, swiping claws and biting strategically to distract. Jake moved the cadets behind rocks and debris, keeping them safe. "Move quickly. Stay close, don't panic," he shouted. One cadet tripped. Another predator lunged. Jake reacted instantly, grabbing the cadet and pushing them out of danger. Kitty blocked the predator mid-leap, claws scraping stone. The air was filled with growls, roars, and the sound of debris falling. Slowly, using a combination of quick thinking, movement, and trust, Jake guided the cadets past the alpha predator. They climbed rocks, jumped over pits, and avoided hidden spikes. Each step was dangerous, but Jake remained calm, and Kitty responded immediately to every move. Finally, they reached a wide, open area. The predators hesitated, confused by the humans' courage and Kitty's strength. Jake motioned to the cadets. "Stay close. Keep moving." They moved as a group, careful but steady. Kitty led the way, blocking any predator that tried to attack. The alpha predator charged one last time. Jake met it with calm eyes. "Kitty, now!" The beast leaped, claws and teeth striking the predator, forcing it back. The alpha roared and retreated into the mist, defeated for now. Silence fell. The air was thick with dust and exhaustion. The cadets were breathing heavily, faces pale with fear and relief. Jake knelt beside Kitty, patting its massive head. "We did it," he said softly. The beast rumbled, nudging him gently. Varnak and the other instructors appeared from the cliffs above. "Extraordinary," Varnak said slowly, voice echoing across the grounds. "No other species has survived a challenge like this. Humans, you are remarkable. Not just brave, but leaders. You inspire others with your courage and your mind. Today, you have shown the galaxy the strength of your kind." The cadets looked at Jake with awe and respect. Some whispered quietly, some nodded in admiration. Even those who had been skeptical could not deny what they had seen. Humans were small, yes, but their courage, intelligence, and trust could overcome almost anything. Jake stood, brushing dust from his uniform. He looked at the cadets, then at Kitty. "We survived because we worked together, because we stayed calm, because we trusted each other." He paused, letting the words sink in. "That's what humans do. That's what we can teach the galaxy." The cadets slowly approached, some still nervous, some inspired. They looked at Jake and Kitty differently now. He had not just survived. He had led, protected, and inspired. They had learned something they had never expected. Humans could face the deadliest creatures without fear, using intelligence, courage, and heart. As the sun set, the sky dark green, Jake and Kitty sat on a high ledge overlooking the academy grounds. The mist was clearing slightly, and the sounds of distant predators echoed softly in the valleys. Jake looked at Kitty, feeling pride and gratitude. "You did amazing today," he said softly. "We've proven something to everyone. Humans aren't weak. Humans aren't small. We can survive, lead, and inspire, and together we're unstoppable." Kitty rumbled in agreement, nudging him gently. The cadets watched from below, silently acknowledging the bond between the human and the beast. It was a symbol, a reminder that humans were different, stronger in ways other species did not expect, braver in ways that could not be measured. That night the academy gathered all cadets and instructors. Varnak addressed everyone. "Today, we witnessed something extraordinary. A human, small in size but large in courage, led a group of cadets through the deadliest trials of Torgheth 9. With intelligence, strategy, and trust, he not only survived but protected others. This is a lesson the galaxy must remember. Humans are a force unlike any other." Jake listened quietly, standing beside Kitty. The other cadets nodded, some even clapping softly. Jake smiled. He did not crave praise. What mattered was what they had learned, the value of courage, calm, and trust. As he walked back to his quarters, Kitty at his side, Jake thought about Earth, about the humans who would never see this, and about the galaxy that often underestimated them. Humans were small, yes, but they had heart, they had courage, they had intelligence, and sometimes that was enough to survive the deadliest world in the galaxy and to teach others what humans were really capable of. That night, as the stars peeked through the green clouds, Jake sat with Kitty outside his quarters. He could hear the quiet murmurs of cadets still talking about what they had witnessed. He smiled. Humans had left a mark here on Torgheth 9, a mark that would not be forgotten. Kitty nudged him gently as if understanding his thoughts. Jake laughed quietly. "Yes, we've done it, and this is just the beginning. Humans will show the galaxy what we're made of. We survive, we lead, we inspire, we are not to be underestimated." And with that, Jake and Kitty sat quietly, watching the stars, ready for whatever the galaxy would throw at them next. Because humans, small as they seemed, had a strength that no predator, no alien, and no challenge could ever take away. On Torgheth 9, the legend of Jake Miller and Kitty was just beginning, and the galaxy would never look at humans the same way again.